神羅転生
What's up everybody, it's your boy Hokage here, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to talk about Boruto episode 144. Yet another fantastic Mujina Bandits arc episode. Honestly, this episode exceeded my expectations. It's not like I was expecting like a boring episode, a useless episode or anything like that, but the third episode of the arc was kind of stretched out, and so I was kind of assuming that something similar might continue on throughout this episode. I don't know. But quite the contrary, this episode was paced really well and I really enjoyed it. We got Kakuis Backstory, which was something that we've been waiting to get for a few episodes now. A lot of people since the start have speculated that he might be trying to trick Boruto. I was one of those people who mentioned that as a possibility, right? But no, in fact, he's literally nowhere near tricking Boruto, right? In this episode, we saw that he donated the money to like a hospital, and later on it was revealed that that hospital was where Kamata's sister is treated. So I really like that little detail right there. And not gonna lie, when it was revealed that he actually unintentionally helped that woman who stole that guy's wallet, I did kind of laugh because I just couldn't believe how unfortunate he was. Overall, a nice little backstory. I guess, I mean, that whole wallet thing, it's not supposed to be a gag moment, a funny moment or anything like that. It's just that I thought it was ridiculous. Not like in a bad way, but I just didn't expect it. I mean, if you see a man and a woman on the street fighting over a wallet, you would assume that the man is assaulting a woman because men are physically superior, right? But no, that wasn't the case in this episode. And Kokuri went to prison for all these things that he did. I really like that little explanation that he donated the money, that he was this accountant who's not good at ninjutsu, and he realized he was being used by the Mujina Bandits. That was cool. By the way, the bald guy who gave Kokuri that stolen cash or whatever, he's actually one of the bandits from the manga. I saw people posting screenshots on Twitter, like the anime screenshot and the manga screenshot. It's like, whatever. I mean, this is the Mujina Bandits arc, so I'm not surprised by that, but I just wanted to point it out because I mean, I certainly don't remember that guy. I mean, he probably appeared in the manga for like a panel or two or something like that, and it's not like he's ever going to appear again, but I just wanted to mention that. Sookyin and Manga, I mean, this was already hinted at earlier in this arc, but right now they're 100% cooperating, and this is possible because Mujo is seemingly out of the picture because of his illness. The reason why I particularly liked that scene when he collapsed is because this is something that came out of nowhere. It was hinted at earlier in this arc, like 1 or 2 episodes ago, when Mujo was seen coughing and taking those pills or whatever. And so, I mean, really shows how well planned this arc is, right? I'm very, very happy about the quality of this arc so far. I mean, we had 4 episodes, 7 left, and I'm genuinely really loving this arc. I even tweeted about it earlier. But anyway, going back to this episode, Tsukio and Manga are 100% cooperating in this episode. I bet we're gonna see like a proper fight between Tsukio and Team 7 by the end of this arc, maybe in like not like in the next episode, but maybe the episode after it or something like that. I mean, in this episode, during the Genjutsu scene, when Sarada tricked Kokuri, when we saw Tsukio, immediately, because I didn't realize it was Genjutsu, immediately, like, I was pissed off. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. How did Tsukio get there? I was already ready to deduct some points from this episode, you know, in my review, but no, it was Genjutsu, and in fact, that's my favorite episode of the scene. Favorite episode of the scene. That's my favorite scene of the episode, and well, Kamata's backstory was pretty sad. I'll get into that in a bit, but in particular, I really liked this scene, and it made the episode even better and even more clever. So props to the writers for that. I mean, that's how we got Kokuri's backstory in the first place. But I think that seeing Tsukio, quote unquote Tsukio, fighting against Boruto, I think that probably hints at the fact that we will get like a mini fight in the prison at the end or something like that. Especially now that Mujo is out of the picture and like you have Benga doing all this, like all these nasty things. Now, I mentioned Kamata, right? We got Kamata's backstory in this episode. I like how the prisoners from Boruto's and Mitsuki's cells are, like we're getting more information about them. Like, for example, Arai, right? It turned out that he's this sneaky bastard who manipulates, and lies. That was a nice little. I think that was good because when he was introduced, he seemed like a pretty chill guy, but it turned out that he was actually the opposite of that. And since this arc takes place in the prison, it has that mysterious vibe, and that vibe that pretty much it pretty much means that you shouldn't trust anybody in the prison, right? And I know some people complain about how this doesn't feel like a prison. I 100% disagree with that. Not only because of this episode where we got a brutal scene with Benga beating up Kamata, but like in general, just because it's the prison doesn't mean that like everybody is supposed to attack everybody all the time. It's like, no. There's corruption within the prison that was shown even earlier throughout this arc, especially with Benga. It's very mysterious. It's the rules are pretty strict. If Boruto didn't use ninjutsu one episode ago, he perhaps could have been killed. When that prisoner tricked him, I think his name was Dorago, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, no, I like the prison atmosphere. I still think it's good. And, this episode, especially, again, we got a very brutal scene. So, but anyway, going back to my point, I disagree with people who have those opinions. Arai is a good example of, this is prison. You shouldn't trust anybody. Arai aside, this episode focused on Kamata. We got to learn more about him, and honestly, I'm expecting that we'll get to know more about Kodama in the future. It was revealed earlier in this arc that in the past, he was quote unquote a snitch. He pretty much revealed that somebody was doing something nasty in the prison. We don't know why. We never got to hear his reasons, and I'm pretty sure that he's not just like a random guy who decided to sell out or anything like that. I'm pretty sure there's a reason behind what he did earlier. And honestly, since Arai and Kamata, since we got to know them a little bit more personally, I'm expecting something similar when it comes to Kodama. So perhaps in the next episode or something like that. Kodama and Mitsuki had like an interesting conversation about flowers in today's episode, where Mitsuki was like, because like Kodama protects the flowers, right? And Kodama was like, it's not that I hate them or like them. And then he was like, I forgot. Like, it was kind of like a weird conversation. It was kind of like mysterious, makes you question what's going through Kodama's head. I guess that was the whole purpose. But I don't know. I thought the little convo scene was, I guess, weird. I don't know. Not like in a negative way. It's just like, I don't know. But anyway, Kamata. Yeah, let's talk about Kamata. This episode, I said this earlier in my review that it exceeded my expectations. And apart from that, I didn't expect it to get this dark, at any point, in this episode at least. And we got to know that Kamata is pretty much lying to his sister. He's saying that he's this, like, great guy or whatever. And I'm pretty sure he's a decent guy, but he clearly lied that he helped this guy who fought some rogue ninja or whatever. He clearly lied about that. But just because he doesn't want his sister to suffer more, he doesn't want her to know that he's in prison. So that was kind of noble. But even more noble was when he decided not to expose Boruto and the others. Now, I will say this though, and this is in particular why I really like this episode. Just because Kamata didn't sell them out doesn't mean that necessarily he would make the same decision if he didn't know that Kokuri unintentionally helped his sister. So he did a good thing, but I mean, if he didn't, imagine if he never found out about that. We don't know if he would still decide to sell out. Like, he looked pretty determined to do it for his sister, and I guess in some way you could justify his action. I guess, I mean, it's, when we're talking about morality and these things, I mean, it can go either way. But this episode, and this is something that I really liked about it, this episode poses this question: what if he didn't find out about this? Would he still not sell them out? And of course, we'll never get to know the answer to this question, but that makes this whole scene even more brilliant in my eyes. You know, the writers could have just had Kamata thinking, you know, how he's gonna sell out, and then suddenly having a change of heart because Boruto and the others look like good guys or whatever, and I'd still be cool with that. But you know, this kind of makes it more realistic. He was most likely gonna do it anyway, but you know, he really couldn't do it when he found out that Kokuri is connected to his sister's treatment in the hospital. So I really like that. I already mentioned the brutality of the scene where Benga pretty much beats up Kamata. That was sad, but overall I like this episode because we got to know more about Kamata, and overall this in particular, that part of the episode where he was getting beaten up, it further proves my point that this arc is pretty refreshing. It's pretty dark. Definitely a different tone. I mean, I'm loving this arc. I mean, listen, guys, it's been only 4 episodes, right? We're gonna have 7 more. Depending on how this arc is, you know, depending on how this arc continues its adaptation, its manga adaptation in the future, meaning like the next 7 episodes, this arc might become one of my favorite arcs of the Boruto anime. Seriously, though. And I mean, this is a huge statement because the Boruto anime has many arcs, many short arcs. But again, I don't want to jinx anything. I just hope that the quality is on this level throughout the remainder of this arc. I mean, this episode really surprised me in a positive way. You know, I was shocked. I didn't expect something like this. And one more thing before I give the rating. I mean, no, 10 out of 10, like, obviously. There you go. But one more thing, I can't remember if it was stated that there will be like a couple of days before Kokuri is sent to the different castle, or like a week, doesn't matter. But basically Boruto and the others have a few days to come up with the plan, and I assume you guys saw the episode preview for episode 145. Next episode has a lot of potential, but again, just because of how brilliant this episode was, I'm not going to have extremely high expectations. You know, the next episode might be like a 9 out of 10 or something like that, which would still be great. But like, this episode is, I'd have to think about it a lot, because like the first 2 episodes, I also gave them 10 out of 10. I didn't give the episode 3 wasn't as good as the first 2, and this one, the 4th one. But like, and this is not like you know, I'm not too confident in saying this because I'd have to think, I'd have to reflect on the first 2 episodes, but this episode 144, is potentially my favorite episode of the arc so far. I don't know, man, I really like that little detail with Kamata and his morality and the Genjutsu scene. It was just so clever, and overall the atmosphere of this episode, Mujo collapsing, and that was hinted at earlier, like, I don't know, I really like this episode. And I'm looking forward to the next one, and hopefully we'll get to know more about Kodama. I mean, at this point, it's fair to assume that we'll get, maybe not like his backstory, but like just a little like more information, you know, about his personality, and like, you know, he might start talking more in the next few episodes. That was your boy Hokage, 10 out of 10. I said it earlier, 10 out of 10 for me for this episode. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.